history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My
Welcome to Musings of a Cigarette-Smoking Man. I'm Stephen Lake. Baseball, an American pastime, history and legacy. Introduction, the cultural significance of baseball. There's something uniquely American about the crack of a bat against a baseball. A sound that echoes far beyond the diamond, weaving itself into the fabric of our collective memory. Baseball is more than just a sport. It is a living, breathing emblem of American identity, nostalgia, and tradition. It stretches back through centuries, from simple bat and ball games played on rural fields to the brightly lit stadiums dotted across the country, welcoming millions of fans year after year. Here on Musings of a Cigarette-Smoking Man, we peel back the layers of history, culture, and sentiment that make baseball a national pastime. It's a game wrapped in stories of hope, struggle, camaraderie, and triumph. Stories that mirror the American experience itself. Baseball has long held a mirror to society. In its earliest days, informal games echoed the spirit of an emerging nation, a melting pot bound by a shared pastime. It evolved alongside the country, touching lives both great and ordinary, providing a refuge during times of hardship and a rallying point in times of unity. From the dusty sandlots of small towns to the grand stages of Major League ballparks, baseball's presence shaped not only sport but culture and community as well. In this podcast, our journey will begin with the humble bat and ball games linked historically to George Washington's era, moving through the pivotal moment of standardization credited to Abner Doubleday. The traveling forward through baseball's golden era, we will revisit the legends and milestones from the roaring 20s through the post-war 50s and reflect on how the modern era has cemented baseball as a symbol of resilience, highlighted poignantly by events like President George W. Bush's first pitch after 9/11, a moment that reassured a shaken nation. But this story isn't just history, it's personal. I'll share my own connection to the game, from my high school days as an all-region pitcher alongside my cousins, to friendships shaped through baseball's enduring influence. This podcast is an invitation to revisit the timeless magic of baseball through reflective conversation, shared memories, and heartfelt musings. So settle in, spark up that cigarette if you will, and join me on this evocative journey through America's pastime. Origins of baseball, from bat and ball games with George Washington. The roots of baseball stretch back further than the well-known myths crediting a single inventor. Long before Abner Doubleday was reputed to have drawn the first diamond in Cooperstown, early forms of bat and ball games were taking shape on both sides of the Atlantic and eventually taking firm hold in colonial America. It was during the era of General George Washington that these rudimentary games began evolving, planting the seeds of what would become America's beloved national pastime. In the 18th century, the variety of bat and ball games played across English-speaking communities was diverse. These informal games shared common elements. Players would wield bats to strike balls thrown or pitched towards them, while opposing teams aimed to field and catch or retrieve balls to put runners out. Names like rounders, stool ball, and town ball were used interchangeably in different regions, with rules varying wildly from town to town. Importantly, many colonial Americans played these games not as professional athletes, but as casual pastimes, light-hearted diversions after a day's work or social occasions during community gatherings. Stories even tell of soldiers in the Continental Army lobbing balls for recreation between drills, offering early evidence of the game's social and cultural integration. Although no verified record confirms Washington himself played these bat and ball games, his military campaigns and leadership occurred alongside the engrossment of soldiers and settlers and outdoor leisure activities where such games flourished. The blending of English folk games with new American attitudes towards competition and community led to gradual adaptations. Unlike the rigid class distinctions that sometimes surrounded sports in Europe, these games grew to reflect the democratic spirit emerging in the young nation, accessible to children and adults alike, urban or rural, rich or poor. In that sense, America's bat and ball traditions reflected a broader cultural narrative, play as a unifying force in an evolving society. Myth versus reality, the Doubleday legend, and the true beginnings. When most hear the origins of baseball, the name Abner Doubleday frequently surfaces, credited in popular lore with inventing baseball in 1839 at Cooperstown, New York. This story was mythologized through a 1908 report commissioned by the Mills Commission, which aimed to establish baseball as unique to America and separate from older English games. However, historians today largely agree that this tale is more fiction than fact. In reality, the game developed organically over decades from various bat and ball traditions. Early documented references to baseball date back to the late 18th century, including a 1791 ordinance in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, banning the game near a meeting house for fear of window breaking, underscoring its early popularity and impact on communities. By the early 19th century, standardized rules began emerging, led by groups such as the New York Knickerbocker Baseball Club, which, in 1845, formalized many regulations still recognizable today, including the diamond layout, 3 strikes per batter, and bases set 90 feet apart. So, while General Washington's era provided fertile ground for bat and ball games to take hold socially, it was the patchwork of immigrant traditions, 19th century competitiveness, and organizational efforts that would crystallize these early pastimes into the sport we now call baseball. Baseball's early role in American culture. Even in these earliest days, baseball was more than simply a pastime or exercise. It became a cultural glue, binding communities across geographic and social divides. Informal town ball games encouraged local pride and friendly rivalry, and the sport's gradual codification dovetailed neatly with a country eager for distinctly American traditions. Baseball was a game that everyone could participate in or watch, a shared experience that transcended ethnicity, class, and occupation. Moreover, in the years leading up to and following the Revolutionary War, the sport's rise paralleled America's search for identity. Just as citizens shaped a new nation politically, they also shaped their cultural landscape. Baseball, in its development from scattered colonial games, mirrored that journey. In the words of one 19th century writer, baseball wasn't just a game. It was a pastime fit for a nation of free men. Its evolution from the dusty village greens of George Washington's America to the carefully maintained diamonds of today reflects the growth and complexity of the country itself. The standardization of baseball, the Abner Doubleday myth and real history. In American lore, few stories are as enduring and as delightfully simplistic as the tale of Abner Doubleday inventing baseball in 1839 in Cooperstown, New York. The popular image is vivid. A military officer sketches out the diamond on a patch of cornfield, laying the foundations for America's national pastime in a single inspired moment. Yet, as with many cherished myths, history presents a more complex and fascinating narrative. The Doubleday origin story was largely promulgated by the Mills Commission in 1907, a group convened at the behest of baseball's early promoters, who sought a distinctly American genesis for the game. Their mission was almost politically motivated, to establish baseball's roots as purely homegrown and free from old world influences. The report named Abner Doubleday, a Civil War general with no known connections to any baseball-like activity, as the singular inventor. This declaration offered an appealing patriotic narrative, creating a neat, easily digestible origin centered on a military man in a small town, neat for commemorative branding and celebration. However, historians and baseball scholars quickly uncovered that this story was little more than a convenient fiction. There's no credible evidence that Doubleday ever played baseball, designed fields, or contributed to the rules of the game. Even Doubleday himself never claimed such involvement. The Mills Commission's findings were based primarily on the unreliable memories of a single man, Abner Graves, who described a baseball game that did not match the rules or style that became baseball. From folk games to formalized rules. Baseball, as it came to be recognized, was not an invention of one man on one day, but an evolution of various bat and ball games played throughout the 18th and early 19th centuries. These games, including rounders and town ball, were popular in England and North America, played with various rules and equipment. As America grew and urbanized, immigrants brought their sporting traditions with them, and local clubs and teams began to form with the desire to formalize play. The real engine behind baseball's formalization was the New York Knickerbockers Baseball Club, founded in 1845 by Alexander Cartwright and his associates. Cartwright is often credited as the father of modern baseball for his role in codifying a set of rules that introduced key innovations. Diamond-shaped infield with bases set 90 feet apart. 3 strikes rule for batters. Elimination of soaking or plugging, throwing the ball to hit a runner to get them out. 9-player teams. These rules, sometimes called the Knickerbocker rules, were a crucial step towards transforming a casual pastime into an organized sport with standardized play, making games more consistent, competitive, and spectator-friendly. The simplicity and elegance of these rules helped baseball shed its regional variations and spread quickly, especially in the northeastern United States. Mid-19th century America, a time ripe for baseball's growth. The mid-1800s in the United States was a period characterized by rapid urbanization, industrialization, and social change. As cities grew, so too did leisure time for many working-class Americans, creating fertile ground for organized sport. Baseball fitted perfectly into this culture. It was inexpensive, easy to learn, and fostered a sense of community and identity amid the hustle of growing towns and cities. Anecdotes from the period reflect how baseball was emerging as a social phenomenon. During the Civil War, for example, soldiers on both sides played improvised games during downtime, spreading the game's popularity as troops moved across regional divides. Baseball became a symbol of unity and morale, knitting communities and soldiers together during America's most divisive conflict. Baseball also mirrored the democratic ideals growing within American society. Unlike many European sports that were steeped in class distinctions, baseball was accessible and played in parks, streets, and makeshift fields by people of all backgrounds. This democratization of sport was part of the larger narrative that America was forging a unique identity, and baseball stood at the cultural crossroads, building the national pastime. By the late 19th century, the establishment of formal leagues like the National Association of Baseball Players, 1857, and later the National League, 1876, baseball was becoming professionalized. Organized competitions, written schedules, and distinct teams fostered fan followings and rivalries. Ballparks began appearing in cities, and newspapers started covering games regularly, cementing baseball's place in American culture. This steady knit of structure and spectacle appeared far more crucial to baseball's rise than any single founding figure. More than a game, baseball was rapidly becoming a key cultural institution where identity, competition, and entertainment blended seamlessly. In short, the story of baseball's standardization sheds light not just on sport, but on America itself, a nation made from many threads, constantly evolving, eager to build traditions that unite and celebrate its people. The myth of Abner Doubleday may endure, but the truth behind baseball's origins offers a richer, more genuine homage to the sport's messier communal beginnings. Early days of baseball and the growth of the national game. As the 19th century marched on, baseball moved beyond informal fields and casual gatherings, transforming into a robust and organized sport deeply woven into the American social fabric. The early professional era of baseball, emerging in the mid to late 1800s, reflected not only the country's rapid industrialization and urban growth, but also a society hungry for recreation, community, and shared identity. The formation of organized leagues and teams. By the late 1860s and early 1870s, Baseball clubs had proliferated across the Northeast into the Midwest, moving the game from a pastime of scattered groups to a formalized competition. The establishment of the National Association of Baseball Players, NABBP, in 1857 marked the first step towards organized club play, but it was the rise of professional teams that truly propelled the game. In 1871, the National Association of Professional Baseball Players became the first professional league. Though it was short-lived and somewhat chaotic, it was soon succeeded by the National League, founded in 1876 by William Hulbert, which introduced stricter organization and rules to ensure financial stability and competitive balance. This league is considered the foundation upon which Major League Baseball was built, and many of today's oldest franchises trace their origins back to this era. Early teams, such as the Chicago White Stockings, later the Cubs, Boston Red Stockings, now the Atlanta Braves, and New York Mutuals, became prominent, drawing growing crowds while fostering spirited rivalries. These clubs were often sponsored or backed by local businessmen who saw the commercial potential of the sport. Games attracted diverse audiences eager to escape the rigors of industrial labor, a growing working class with newfound leisure time in booming cities. Key figures and pivotal moments. Several individuals left indelible marks on this fledgling professional landscape. Cap Anson, a powerful hitter and manager, was one of the era's defining figures, instrumental in popularizing baseball in the Midwest. Players like Pud Galvin, one of the first pitchers to reach 300 career wins, embodied the rising stature of the game's athletes. In addition, the invention and adoption of overhand pitching in the 1880s dramatically changed gameplay, increasing both the challenge and spectacle. The emergence of star players helped build a fan culture grounded in personality and performance, a phenomenon that would only expand as the sport matured. Among the defining early moments was the first World Series in 1903 between the newly formed American League and the National League, championed, emblematic of baseball's growing appeal and institutional consolidation. This event set the stage for a century of annual baseball drama that captivated the nation. Baseball spread through urban and rural America. While professional baseball thrived in burgeoning cities, the sport's tentacles reached far into rural communities, small towns, and even frontier settlements. Baseball held a unique ability to unite disparate social groups. Industrial workers, farmers, immigrants, and business owners alike, under its simple rules and spirited competition. Local leagues sprang up across the country, promoting regional pride and creating social hubs. Teams sponsored by factories or railroads provided an escape for laborers, while Sunday afternoon games became communal rituals. This grassroots growth reinforced baseball's place not just as an urban spectacle, but as a national pastime, touching everyday lives from coast to coast. Importantly, baseball became a medium for the expression of a wider cultural and social tension. As cities welcomed waves of immigrants, the ballpark often served as an early site of integration and cultural exchange, albeit imperfect and sometimes fraught with conflict. The sport mirrored America's struggles and triumphs in forging its national identity. The social impact and cultural resonance. By the dawn of the 20th century, baseball had transcended mere recreation to become a powerful social institution. Newspapers reported on games in serialized fashion. Celebrity players appeared in popular culture, and baseball parks became symbolic cathedrals of communal life. The sport's rhythms came to frame American seasons, punctuating lives with the hope and drama that only a game could conjure. The game's accessibility, requiring little equipment and offering democratic rules, needed a common ground For a society grappling with rapid change, baseball was no longer just a game. It was a language spoken by communities across age, class, and ethnicity, a shared narrative that helped define what it meant to be American. This era witnessed the first cracks in unity, however, with segregation, excluding African American players from organized white leagues, a painful reminder of the period's social realities. Yet, even within these boundaries, baseball's spirit endured and expanded through the emergence of Negro leagues and barnstorming teams, preserving the game's power to inspire and connect across adversity. Baseball media and mass culture. The rise of mass media was inextricably linked to baseball's rise as America's national pastime. Newspapers, sporting magazines, and eventually radio broadcasts turned players and teams into household names. Stories of heroic plays, astounding home runs, and dramatic pitching duels transcended the field, feeding imaginations and communities far beyond the ballpark fence. By the early 1900s, baseball box scores were a staple in the daily papers of major cities, while Sunday game recaps offered readers a vibrant narrative to look forward to each week. Radio broadcasts of the 1920s further amplified fans' connection to the game, allowing those who could not attend games to experience the thrill in real time, binding a fragmented nation with shared moments of exhilaration. In sum, the early professional era of baseball forged the foundation for what would become an enduring American tradition. From organized leagues and key players to regional leagues and media coverage, baseball's growth was a reflection of America's own journey, complex, diverse, and united by a common love for the game. This era not only shaped the sport itself, but helped harness the unifying power of baseball, ensuring its cherished place in the heart of American culture for generations to come. The golden age of baseball, the 1920s to the 1950s. Emerging from the early professional era in the shadow of the Black Sox scandal, baseball entered a period often romanticized as its golden age, roughly spanning the 1920s through the late 1950s. This era was defined by larger-than-life heroes, dramatic moments, and the sport's deep entanglement with the major social and economic currents of American life. It was a time when baseball truly solidified its place as a national pastime, offering both thrilling entertainment and a unifying force for a nation navigating prosperity, depression, and war. The game's simple structure, pitting pitcher against batter, team against team, remained constant, yet its cultural resonance exploded. Stadiums became civic cathedrals, the air thick with anticipation, the crack of the bat a communal sound, and the fortunes of local teams a matter of civic pride. This wasn't just about winning and losing. It was about shared experience, about continuity in a changing world, about heroes who seemed to embody the nation's hopes and dreams. The Roaring Twenties, Ruth, Gehrig, and the rise of the superstar. The 1920s ushered in the live ball era, a period characterized by increased scoring and most significantly the rise of the home run. And no figure defined this shift, and indeed the entire era, more than George Herman Babe Ruth. Ruth wasn't just a player, he was a phenomenon. His prodigious home runs captivated the nation, pulling baseball out of the doldrums caused by the 1919 scandal and injecting it with unprecedented excitement and joy. He wasn't just hitting baseballs, he was hitting them further than anyone thought possible, rewriting the game's physics and capturing the exuberant spirit of the Jazz Age. Ruth's dominance, particularly with the New York Yankees, alongside formidable teammates like the quiet, consistent Lou Gehrig, created dynasties that commanded national attention. The Yankees of the late 1920s, famously dubbed Murderers Row, were legendary for their offensive power. Derek, the Iron Horse, provided a perfect foil to Ruth's flamboyant persona, reliable, powerful, and understatedly heroic. Their partnership, though sometimes fraught with personal tension, produced some of the most memorable baseball teams in history. Stadium attendance soared, radio broadcasts became ubiquitous, and baseball stars became America's first true sports celebrities. The atmosphere in ballparks like Yankee Stadium, opened in 1923 and quickly dubbed "the house that Ruth built," was electric. Thousands flocked to see Ruth launch yet another ball into the stands. These games were more than just sporting contests. They were social events, opportunities for people from all walks of life to gather, cheer, and partake in a shared cultural experience. Baseball during hardship, the Great Depression. As the Roaring Twenties gave way to the harsh realities of the Great Depression, baseball's role subtly shifted. While times were tough and many Americans struggled financially, baseball remained remarkably resilient. Attendance figures did dip from the peak of the late 1920s. The sport continued to draw large crowds, offering an affordable escape from the daily anxieties of unemployment and economic hardship. Ballparks, particularly those in major cities, became temporary havens. For the price of a ticket, or even just listening on the radio, fans could immerse themselves in the drama of the game, forget their troubles, and cheer for their heroes. Players like DiMaggio, who joined the Yankees in the late 1930s, provided a new generation of stars to admire. Lou Gehrig's tragic farewell speech in 1939, after being diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, became one of the most poignant moments in sports history, a testament to courage and dignity that resonated deeply with a nation grappling with its own challenges. Baseball became a narrative thread running through the national conversation, a source of continuity and a reminder of shared traditions in uncertain times. Radio play-by-play announcers painted vivid pictures for listeners who couldn't afford a ticket, bringing the roar of the crowd and the excitement of the game into homes across the country. Keeping the lights on, baseball and World War II. The outbreak of World War II presented a new challenge. Many major league players enlisted or were drafted into the armed forces, leaving teams depleted. There was a debate about whether professional baseball should continue during wartime. President Franklin D. Roosevelt famously settled the matter with his green light letter in January 1942, stating that he believed baseball should continue because it was a morale builder and provided necessary recreation for working people. Baseball, therefore, played a vital role on the home front. It continued to offer distraction and entertainment, but it also served as a symbol of American resilience and unity. Teams filled their rosters with older players or those not eligible for service. While the quality of play might have occasionally dipped, the commitment to playing the game remained. Exhibition games were played to raise funds for the war effort, and players in uniform played baseball for troops overseas. The game became intertwined with patriotism and the fight for freedom. This era also saw the formation of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, providing opportunities for women to play professionally and further cementing baseball's place as a game for all Americans, even as circumstances forced adaptation. A new era dawns, Jackie Robinson and integration. Perhaps the most historically significant moment of this golden age came after World War II. For decades, a color barrier had excluded African American players from Major League Baseball, forcing them to play in the parallel Negro leagues. This segregation was a stark reflection of racial injustice in American society. In 1947, Branch Rickey, the president and general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, made the courageous decision to sign Jackie Robinson. Robinson possessed not only immense baseball talent, but also the extraordinary character and fortitude required to withstand the inevitable prejudice and abuse he would face. His debut on April 15, 1947, breaking the color barrier, was a watershed moment not just for baseball, but for the entire civil rights movement. Robinson's success and dignity in the face of hostility slowly opened the doors for other talented black players from the Negro Leagues, such as Larry Doby, Satchel Paige, and Willie Mays, who would go on to become legends themselves. The integration of baseball was a powerful step forward for racial equality in America, demonstrating the potential for integration and challenging long-held prejudice in a very public arena. The post-war years also saw the game continue to thrive, with new stars emerging in classic rivalries, particularly in New York with the Yankees, Dodgers, and Giants reaching legendary status. The atmosphere in ballparks like Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, where Dodgers fans passionately supported Robinson and his teammates, was electric, fueled by both the excitement of the game and the social significance of watching players of color compete on baseball's grandest stage. The Golden Age, from the home run heroics of Ruth and Gehrig, through the resilience shown during the Depression and World War II, culminating in the transformative courage of Jackie Robinson, solidified baseball's identity. It wasn't just a game played on a field. It was a mirror reflecting the nation's struggles, triumphs, and evolving identity, binding generations through shared stories, legendary figures, and timeless rhythm of the game. Modern era of baseball, from civil rights to 9/11 and national treasure. As the mid-20th century gave way to new social movements, technological innovation, and profound moments in American history, baseball evolved alongside the nation, proving its resilience and cultural significance. The game, long celebrated as America's national pastime, continued to reflect and influence society, most poignantly during times of challenge and healing. The integration of baseball and the civil rights movement. The integration of Major League Baseball following Jackie Robinson's groundbreaking debut in 1947 marked a turning point, not only in sports history, but in the broader American civil rights struggle. This watershed moment challenged deeply entrenched racial barriers and paved the way for a more inclusive game. Over the ensuing decades, figures like Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, and Roberto Clemente would not only dazzle fans with their extraordinary talent, but also symbolize the progress and persistent challenges facing the nation. Sports' peaceful integration stood in stark contrast to the social turmoil occurring in other arenas. While America grappled with segregation, protests, and shifting demographics, baseball provided a stage where merit and perseverance could sometimes transcend color lines, offering a powerful narrative of hope and gradual change. The Negro Leagues, once thriving parallel institutions, faded as black players entered the majors, but the legacy of those great teams and players lives on, a testament to baseball's complex relationship with race. More than just breaking the color barrier, baseball became a mirror for social issues, from the outspoken activism of players like Curt Flood, resisting the reserve clause, to Muhammad Ali's refusal of the draft during the Vietnam War, which, while outside baseball, resonated deeply within sports culture. In every era, the game reflected America's evolving conversations about equality, justice, and identity, technological innovations, and changing fan experience. The latter half of the 20th century also saw baseball embrace technological advancements that reshaped how fans experienced the game. Night games became more common with the advent of stadium lighting, expanded access beyond the traditional daytime crowds, and bringing families and wider audiences to ballparks. Television broadcasts brought the drama of the diamond into living rooms nationwide, turning old legends into household names and creating new icons for emerging generations. With instant replay and advanced statistics becoming part of the sport's fabric in later decades, baseball began straddling tradition and modernity, while purists held tightly to the rhythms and quirks of the slowest game. Front offices increasingly relied on sophisticated analytics to shape teams and strategies. This integration of data and technology underscored baseball's ability to evolve, even as it maintained a timeless core that continues to captivate fans. Meanwhile, fan culture diversified as the MLB expanded to new markets beyond its historic strongholds, bringing professional baseball to the West Coast and the South. The game's footprint grew along with the nation's shifting demographics, and stadium experiences adapted with enhanced facilities, merchandise, and entertainment options, creating an immersive atmosphere that rivaled other sports. Baseball's role in national healing, the post 9/11 moment. Few moments capture baseball's profound place in American life better than the first professional game played after the tragic events of September 11th, 2001. In the wake of a national trauma and uncertainty, baseball became a symbol of resilience and unity. On October 30th, 2001, at Yankee Stadium, President George W. Bush stepped onto the mound to throw the ceremonial first pitch to Mike Piazza of the New York Mets. Wearing a bulletproof vest and simple white shirt, Bush's pitch came to represent something much greater than sport. Courage, hope, and a steady hand amid chaos. The image of the president calmly preparing to throw the pitch before a packed stadium quickly became an iconic moment of collective healing. That event transcended rivalry and regional loyalties as the game united a grieving nation. Amid the cheers of the ballpark lights, baseball reassumed its role as a refuge, a tradition that reaffirmed American spirit and continuity. The season's playoffs saw fans and players alike channel emotions into their shared love of the game, reconnecting with an essential thread of national identity. Baseball as America's living national treasure. Through the decades, baseball has managed to retain what few other institutions have, a powerful blend of nostalgia, community, and cultural meaning. Even as newer sports and entertainment options emerged, baseball's steady pulse endures, shaped by history but alive in the present. Baseball is unique in how it intertwines the personal with the national. It remains a game of intimate moments, the first catch in a Little League game, the shared anticipation of a ninth-inning comeback, the timeless unfolding of a double play. These moments, multiplied across generations, become threads in America's vast cultural tapestry. Its rhythms recall simpler times, even as they adapt to new realities. The leisurely pace invites reflection and storytelling. Its field is a stage where countless tales of triumph, heartbreak, and camaraderie unfold. The ballparks, both modern and quaint, function as gathering places where communities inscribe their identity into the enduring saga of the game. Baseball's mythology, from the legends of Babe Ruth and Jackie Robinson to contemporary heroes, give fans a link to past and future alike. The sport remains a living archive of American dreams, struggles, and celebrations, a national treasure not locked in glass, but alive with every pitch, swing, and cheer. As we look at baseball's journey through the modern era, its story reveals a game that is much about the nation's evolving conscience as it is about athletic competition. It has walked with America through its toughest moments and brightest triumphs, a steadfast companion bearing witness to history. The integration of players, the embrace of technology, and the symbolic moments after tragedy all speak to baseball's dynamic role as both a mirror and a mender. It reminds us that beyond the scoreboards and statistics, baseball is fundamentally a narrative of human connection, of hope, perseverance, and unity. Indeed, baseball's place as America's national pastime is as much emotional as cultural as it is sporting. It thrives not only in the victories counted, but in the memories cherished, the friendships forged, and the stories told. It holds a special kind of magic that keeps the game young even as it grows old, enabling every new generation to find it in their own musings, their own moments. In times of change and challenge, baseball endures as a touchstone of who we are and what we aspire to be. Personal ties to baseball, my journey and connections. Baseball has always been more than just a game in my life. It has shaped my identity, nurtured important relationships, provided a soundtrack to some of my most formative years. Growing up, I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by the game in ways that felt both personal and profound. I was an all-region pitcher in high school, a role that gave me not only a sense of accomplishment, but also a deep connection to my family and to the community around me. Pitching wasn't just a part of the sport for me, it was a calling. Every time I stepped onto the mound, I felt the weight of not just athletic competition, but also a legacy and a bond that stretched beyond the field. My high school experience was one marked by dedication, late nights practicing, and the thrill of competition. Being named All-Region was a milestone, a recognition that my hard work had materialized into real achievement. But what made that honor even more meaningful was the fact that I wasn't alone in this pursuit. My two cousins, living nearby, were also all-region pitchers. This shared achievement among close family created a poignant thread in my baseball story, a testament to talent, perseverance, and family ties. We'd often talk pitching strategy over family dinners, sometimes even tossing balls back and forth in the backyard, honing our mechanics and cheering each other on. These moments cemented our familial bond around baseball, making it more than just a sport. It became a common language, a foundation of support and camaraderie. Baseball also introduced me to some of my closest friends, particularly Julius Steinbrenner. Our connection was not simply rooted in the game, but was intertwined with shared histories and mutual connections. Julia's family and mine were tied through Amanda Isabella, my muse and a cherished family friend, who grew up alongside the Steinbrenners in Bel Air, Florida. This overlapping network of relationship, adding layers of meaning to every game, every conversation, and every visit to the ballpark. Baseball's importance in my life is not just about statistics or victories, but about the stories we carry forward. My time as an all-region pitcher is a crucible for growth, teaching me resilience, focus, and humility. It was also a bridge connecting me with my cousins, inviting me into a community of friends, and linking me through Amanda to the Steinbrenner family and their rich baseball heritage. These personal connections illuminate the greater narrative of baseball as a cultural touchstone. The game becomes a vessel for relationships, a keeper of memories, and a stage on which our shared histories play out. For me, baseball is where identity and belonging converge, a testament to the enduring power of sport to change, to shape lives and bind generations. Reflections on craft and creativity. Parallel to my athletic journey, baseball has inspired my creative pursuits. The discipline and rhythm I learned on the mound translated into my writing and artistic expression. Since 2005, I've been developing my craft on allpoetry.com, where I go by the name Liquid Sunshine, LIQSUNSHINE. It was there I first found community among fellow poets and writers, honing my voice through countless poems and stories shared in a supportive environment. Later, my work found a literary home at the beatnikcowboy.com, a vibrant platform that nurtures creative spirit and authenticity. Much like baseball's evolution over decades, these literary platforms have been places of growth, exploration, and connection. My personal narrative and the timeless themes of baseball Hope, struggle, triumph, and camaraderie intersect and inform my writing, making both endeavors intimately interwoven. Baseball's enduring influence. As I look back, the diamond remains a place of formative memory, friendship, family, and creativity. Baseball has left an indelible mark on my identity. These personal ties to the sport are threads in a larger tapestry, one where history, culture, and individual lives intertwine. In every curveball, every cheer from the stands, there lies a narrative not just about the game, but about connection. Baseball for me is a living archive of relationships and moments that continue to inspire, heal, and propel me forward in both life and art. In the midst of exploring baseball's rich tapestry on Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man, I want to take a moment to share two vibrant literary homes that have profoundly shaped my creative journey over the years. AllPoetry.com, my first step into the literary world. Since 2005, AllPoetry.com has been much more than just a website. It's been a nurturing ground for my voice as a poet and writer. Under the username LIQSUNSHINE Liquid Sunshine, I found a welcoming community of fellow artists committed to the craft of expression through verse and prose, whether I was sharing raw early works or reading the compelling pieces of others. AllPoetry.com provided an inspiring space where growth happened organically. What makes All Poetry so special is its accessibility and supportive atmosphere. It's a place where writers of all levels, beginners and veterans alike, can share feedback, engage in contests, and discover new perspectives. The connection between community and creativity here mirrors the essence of baseball itself, a shared pursuit fueled by passion and perseverance. The Beatnik Cowboy, beatnikcowboy.com, my literary sanctuary. While allpoetry.com was my launching pad, beatnikcowboy.com soon became my creative home, a platform that celebrates independent voices that challenge, inspire, and transcend traditional boundaries. This site embraces a wide spectrum of styles and ideas, fostering an environment where authenticity reigns. Being frequently published on Beatnik Cowboy has allowed me to engage deeply with an audience that shares a thirst for the poetic, the reflective, and often the unconventional. It feels like a dynamic gathering place where art and life intersect, much like the way baseball serves as a crossroads for history, culture, and personal narrative on this podcast. Why these platforms matter. These two platforms have not only honed my skills, but also connected me to communities that value storytelling and the creative courage. Just as baseball builds bridges between generations and backgrounds, allpoetry.com and beatnikcowboy.com build bridges among writers and readers, creating ongoing dialogues that enrich all involved. If you're someone who appreciates the power of words, their ability to capture moments, evoke emotion, and weave meaning, I encourage you to explore these sites. They are places where your voice can find form and your stories can find listeners, just as baseball invites us to step onto the field and be a part of something larger than ourselves. Before we dive back into the heart of America's pastime, I want to take a moment to share with you some trusted partners who fuel creativity, awaken the senses, and help guide the way forward. These are brands that resonate deeply with the spirit of reflection, passion, and purpose, values that align perfectly with the journey we're on here at Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man. Moleskin notebooks, where thoughts take form. Every story begins with a single idea, and those ideas need a place to grow. For me, that place has always been a Moleskin notebook. Since its founding, Moleskin has inspired countless writers, artists, and thinkers worldwide to organize their thoughts, capture fleeting moments, and turn imagination into reality. Whether you're sketching out a scene, jotting down a poem, or mapping your daily goals, these notebooks are crafted with a perfect blend of simplicity and elegance. The smooth, acid-free pages invite your creativity to flow uninterrupted, while the sturdy cover protects your most precious musings. Like baseball itself, a moleskin notebook is timeless, connecting past, present, and future in a tangible form. If you're looking to foster your own creative spark, or simply keep your life organized with style, I wholeheartedly recommend making moleskin a part of your daily ritual. Black Rifle Coffee Company, fueling moments that matter. Creativity and passion require energy, and that's where Black Rifle Coffee Company steps in. Those long mornings or quiet evenings, reflecting on the game. Nothing quite wakens the mind like a strong, expertly crafted cup of coffee. Black Rifle Coffee Company, born from a community of veterans and coffee lovers, delivers more than just great blends. They deliver purpose and tradition in every roast. From their bold dark roast to smooth breakfast blend, their coffee keeps you grounded, alert, and ready to capture the next moment of inspiration. Their commitment to quality and service goes hand in hand with honing a hard-working spirit, much like the players and fans who shape baseball into a national treasure. Visit blackriflecoffee.com and discover the fuel that keeps creativity and determination brewing. Monarch Holdings International, clarity in a noisy world. In today's complex and fast-paced world, clarity is rare and invaluable. That's why I trust Monarch Holdings International, a company dedicated to cutting through the noise and illuminating the path forward. Their innovative approach integrates principled leadership with sophisticated business intelligence tools like IBM Watson AI, Palantir to provide actionable insights tailored for entrepreneurs, creatives, and leaders alike. Monarch Holdings International isn't just a holding company. It's a beacon for those seeking focus amidst static, offering consulting services and fostering ventures that empower individual liberty, creativity, and progress. Whether navigating market complexities or launching a new idea, Monarch Holdings stands as a reliable partner in your pursuit of excellence. Discover more about Monarch Holdings International. You can unlock your potential by visiting monarchholdingsinternational.com. Conclusion, reflecting on baseball's enduring legacy. As we draw to this journey to a close, it's remarkable to reflect on how baseball has evolved from humble bat and ball games played on colonial fields, games that echoed the spirit of a fledgling nation, to the grand spectacle that stands today as cherished symbols of American culture. What began as informal pastimes embraced by communities from the time of George Washington grew through the dedication of visionaries and everyday players alike, blossoming into a national treasure that spans generations. Baseball's story is not just a timeline of innings, home runs, and championships, but a narrative woven deeply into the American fabric. It chronicles the nation's struggles and triumphs, its divisions and reconciliations, its unrelenting spirit of perseverance, from the codified rules introduced by the Knickerbocker Club to the electric atmospheres of the Golden Age ballparks, and on through the transformative power of integration and beyond. Baseball offers a lens through which we can understand more than just a game. It reflects the heart and soul of America. For me, this history is intimately personal. The game shaped my youth as an all-region pitcher, bonding me to family through cousins who shared the mounds, and to friends like Julia Steinbrenner, whose connections through my muse Amanda illustrate how baseball serves as a thread linking lives and stories across places and time. These relationships remind us that baseball thrives not merely in statistics or highlight reels, but in the quiet moments off the field, the shared dinners, the backyard tosses, and lifelong friendships built inning after inning. Beyond personal memories, baseball endures as an emblem of collective memory and national identity. It is a platform where American values of resilience, inclusion, and community mingle with nostalgia and hope. The sport's rhythms invite reflection, each pitch a chance to rest, reset, each game a new story waiting to unfold. It embraces tradition while adapting to new realities, a living cultural archive through which generations connect. More than just a game, baseball offers us means to comprehend the broader human experience. It teaches us about patience in the face of uncertainty, courage amid adversity, and joy found in small victories. It binds diverse communities with a common language and fosters a sense of belonging that transcends time. As you listen and remember these stories, I invite you to treasure baseball, not solely for its play, but for the rich tapestry of lives it touches, the shared history it encapsulates, and the unspoken promise it holds for every new player stepping onto the diamond. Let baseball be a reminder of who we were, who we are, and who we aspire to be. In its crackling echoes and patient pauses, baseball whispers the enduring tale of America itself, a story of hope, heart, and home. I'm the cigarette smoking man. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. We're gonna win.